Danny Rodriguez had $43 left after buying plane tickets to see his dying mother-in-law. A widowed father drowning in medical debt, he never expected to take a bullet for a billionaire CEO at the airport, or that one split-second decision would transform his family's entire future forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Danny Rodriguez checked his watch for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Flight 447 to Chicago was delayed again, and his 7-year-old son Miguel was getting restless in the plastic airport chair beside him. "Daddy, when are we going to see Grandma?" Miguel asked, swinging his legs and clutching his worn teddy bear Mr. Buttons. The bear had been a gift from his mother before she got sick, and Miguel never traveled without it. "Soon, Mijo. The plane is just running a little late." Danny forced a smile, though his stomach was twisted in knots. This trip to see his mother-in-law wasn't a vacation. It was likely goodbye. Carmen had called 3 days ago with the news: stage 4 pancreatic cancer, weeks to live at most. Danny pulled out his phone and checked his bank balance again. After buying these plane tickets, he had exactly $43.17 left. The cancer treatments had drained every savings account, maxed out every credit card, and still hadn't been enough to save Maria, his wife of 10 years. 6 months ago, Maria had lost her battle with leukemia, leaving Danny to raise Miguel alone. The medical bills kept coming even after she was gone, like cruel reminders of everything he couldn't afford to save. Insurance had covered some of it, but the experimental treatments, the private room, the specialists, none of that was covered. "Daddy, why do you look sad?" Miguel's small hand touched Danny's arm. His son was too perceptive for his age, too aware of the weight his father carried. "I'm not sad, buddy. Just thinking." "About Mommy?" Danny's throat tightened. "Yeah, about Mommy." Miguel nodded seriously. "I think about her too. Do you think she's watching us from heaven?" "I know she is, Mijo. She's always watching over us." Danny looked around the busy terminal. The airport was crowded for a Tuesday morning. Business travelers hurried past with their expensive luggage and confident strides, speaking into Bluetooth headsets about deals and meetings. Families with matching luggage sets chatted excitedly about vacation plans. Danny felt out of place in his second-hand jeans and worn sneakers, holding Miguel's small backpack that contained everything they owned that mattered. He had bought the cheapest tickets possible, which meant a 6-hour layover in Denver and arrival at midnight. But it was what he could afford, and Miguel's grandmother deserved to see her grandson one more time. That's when he noticed her. A woman in a sharp business suit was sitting across from them, typing furiously on her laptop. She had the kind of confidence that came with success, the way she held herself like she belonged in boardrooms and corner offices. Even Danny, who didn't follow business news, recognized her face. Elena Vasquez, CEO of Vasquez Industries. He'd seen her on the news when her company donated millions to children's hospitals after a data breach settlement. She looked up from her laptop and caught Danny staring. Instead of the cold look he expected from someone so wealthy and powerful, she smiled warmly. There was something genuine about it, not the practiced smile of a corporate executive. "Cute kid," she said, nodding toward Miguel. "Thanks. He's my whole world. I can tell." Elena's voice was kind, without the condescension Danny usually heard from people who clearly had more money than him. "Traveling far?" "Chicago. Visiting family." Danny didn't mention it was probably the last time. Miguel, never shy around strangers, piped up. "We're going to see my grandma Carmen. She's sick like Mommy was." Danny saw pain flash across Elena's face. "Miguel, why don't you go look at the airplanes through the window?" As Miguel skipped away, his teddy bear dragging behind him, Elena leaned forward. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you. It's been hard, but we're managing." "How old is he?" 7. "He's been incredibly brave through everything. More brave than I've been, honestly." Elena watched Miguel press his face against the massive windows, watching planes taxi on the runway. His breath fogged the glass as he pointed excitedly at a particularly large aircraft. "You're both brave. Being a single parent isn't easy under any circumstances, but after losing a spouse, I can't imagine." Danny was surprised by her understanding tone. "You have kids?" "No, but I was raised by my father after my mother died. I was 8 when we lost her to breast cancer. I remember what it was like for him, trying to be everything to me: mother, father, provider, comforter. He worked 3 jobs and still made time for my school plays and soccer games." "What happened to him?" "He passed 5 years ago. Heart attack. He worked himself to death, really, but he made sure I had every opportunity. Put me through college, graduate school. Everything I have today, I owe to his sacrifice." Danny felt a kinship with this woman that surprised him. That's what we do, right? Whatever it takes for our kids. Whatever it takes, Elena agreed softly. Before Danny could respond, chaos erupted in the terminal. A man in a dark hoodie was running through the crowd, shouting something Danny couldn't understand. His movements were erratic, desperate. Airport security was chasing him, but he was moving fast, pushing people aside, jumping over benches. Other travelers were stopping to stare, pulling out their phones to record. Some were backing away, sensing danger. But most seemed to think it was just another delay, another disruption in their travel plans. That's when Danny saw the gun. The man had pulled a pistol from his jacket and was waving it wildly. He was heading directly toward Elena, who was still focused on her laptop, unaware of the danger approaching. The gunman was screaming something about corporate greed and ruining families. Danny's construction worker instincts kicked in. In his line of work, you learn to spot danger quickly and react faster. He had seen accidents happen in split seconds, had learned to move first and think second when lives were at stake. Danny didn't think. He moved. He sprinted toward Elena just as the gunman raised his weapon with shaking hands. The man was clearly unstable, his eyes wild with rage and desperation. Danny could see his finger moving toward the trigger. "Elena, get down," Danny shouted. She looked up just in time to see Danny throwing himself between them. He wrapped his arms around Elena and pulled her to the ground just as the shot rang out. The bullet hit Danny in the shoulder, spinning him around. The pain was immediate and intense, like being hit with a red-hot hammer. He felt Elena beneath him, shaking but alive. Miguel's scream cut through the chaos like a knife, high-pitched and terrified. "Daddy!" Airport security tackled the gunman as Danny rolled off Elena, his shoulder on fire. Blood was soaking through his shirt, spreading across the white fabric like spilled paint. She was sitting up, her business suit torn, her perfectly styled hair disheveled, staring at him in shock. "You're bleeding," she said, her voice shaking. "Oh God, you're bleeding everywhere." "I'm okay. Are you hurt?" "No, you saved my life. You actually saved my life." "Daddy?" Miguel was crying, trying to reach his father as EMTs flooded the area. A security guard was holding him back, trying to keep the crime scene clear. "It's okay, Mijo. Daddy's okay." But Danny was far from okay. The world was starting to spin and he could feel himself getting weak from blood loss. The EMTs were talking rapidly, using words he didn't understand, but their urgency was clear. "We need to get him to a hospital now," one of them was saying. Elena stood up shakily, her business suit stained with Danny's blood. "What hospital are they taking him to?" she asked the lead EMT. "St. Mary's downtown, ma'am." "I'm going with you," Elena said firmly. "Ma'am, are you family?" the EMT asked, already loading Danny onto a stretcher. Elena looked at Miguel, still clinging to his teddy bear and crying for his father. Without hesitation, she scooped the boy up in her arms. "Yes," she said firmly. "I'm family." Danny drifted in and out of consciousness during the ambulance ride. He could hear Miguel crying, could feel Elena holding his good hand, could hear the steady beep of medical equipment. The last thing he remembered before the anesthesia took him was Elena's voice, soft and reassuring, telling Miguel that everything would be okay. Danny woke up in a hospital bed 18 hours later. His shoulder was heavily bandaged and his arm was in a sling. The doctor had told him later that he'd been lucky. The bullet had missed any major arteries or bones, but he'd lost a lot of blood and needed surgery to repair muscle damage. "Daddy?" Miguel jumped up from a chair beside the bed, Mr. Buttons still clutched in his arms. "Hey buddy. I'm okay." Danny hugged his son with his good arm, breathing in the familiar scent of his shampoo and the slight mustiness of the well-loved teddy bear. "Elena stayed with me the whole time. She bought me dinner and played games with me and read me stories. She even slept in the chair so I wouldn't be alone." Danny looked around the room and saw Elena sitting in the corner, still wearing her torn business suit from yesterday, looking exhausted. Her usually perfect makeup was gone, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked more human than the polished executive he'd met at the airport. "You didn't have to stay," Danny said, though he was profoundly grateful she had. "Yes, I did." Elena stood up and walked to his bedside. "You took a bullet for me. The least I could do was make sure Miguel wasn't alone while you were in surgery. Thank you. For everything. I should be thanking you." Elena's voice was thick with emotion. "The police told me more about that man. His name is Robert Chin. His brother worked for my company until we had to lay him off 6 months ago during restructuring. The brother committed suicide last month, and Robert blamed me personally." Danny felt a chill. "He was specifically targeting you?" Elena nodded. If you hadn't acted when you did, if you hadn't seen him coming, I'd be dead right now. And Miguel would have watched it happen. The reality of what had occurred was sinking in. Danny hadn't just acted on instinct, he had literally saved a woman's life at the potential cost of his own. Anyone would have done the same thing, Danny said, though even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true. Elena shook her head. No, they wouldn't have. Most people would have run the other way or frozen. Security footage shows dozens of people saw what was happening and they all backed away. You ran toward danger to save a complete stranger. A nurse came in with discharge papers and medication instructions. Mr. Rodriguez, you're free to go, but you need to keep that arm in a sling for at least 3 weeks and follow up with your doctor. No heavy lifting, no strenuous activity. Danny's face fell as reality crashed back. Our flight was 18 hours ago, Elena finished gently. Don't worry about it. I've already taken care of new tickets for this evening. First class, so you'll have more room and be more comfortable. I can't accept that. You've done enough already. You saved my life, Danny. Let me do this small thing for you. Elena had done more than just rebook their flights. She had spent the day making phone calls, arranging care for Miguel, coordinating with the hospital, even buying the boy new clothes since their luggage was still at the airport. She had stepped seamlessly into the role of caretaker, something Danny hadn't experienced since Maria died. That evening, Elena insisted on driving them to a hotel near the airport. She had upgraded them from their original budget motel to a suite at the Marriott. As they pulled up to the elegant lobby, Danny felt embarrassed all over again. This is too expensive. We can stay at the place I originally booked. It's already paid for. 2 connecting rooms so Miguel can have his own space, but you'll be right next door. Elena handed him the key cards. Room service is available 24 hours, and there's a pool if Miguel wants to swim tomorrow before your flight. Elena, why are you doing all this? Elena was quiet for a moment, staring out at the city lights. Because you did something extraordinary today. And because I know what it's like to struggle, to worry about money, to feel like you're one disaster away from losing everything. You? But you're? Rich now, yes. But I wasn't always. After my mother died, my father cleaned offices at night to support us. I remember eating cereal for dinner because it was all we could afford. I remember wearing the same clothes to school every day because we couldn't afford new ones. I remember the shame and the worry and the constant fear that we'd lose what little we had. Danny studied her face, seeing a pain there that money couldn't heal. Success doesn't erase those memories, Elena continued. It doesn't make you forget what it felt like to choose between groceries and rent, or to lie awake at night wondering how you'll pay for your child's school supplies. When I saw you today, the way you protected me without thinking about the cost, I saw the kind of person who deserves better than what life has given you. The next morning, Elena arrived at the hotel with coffee, breakfast pastries, and a small gift bag. Miguel was excited to see her again, running to hug her like she was family. Elena, look. Daddy's arm is in a sling like a real superhero. He is a real superhero, Elena said, ruffling Miguel's hair. The bravest man I've ever met. Inside the gift bag was a new teddy bear for Miguel, not to replace Mr. Buttons but to be his friend. This one wore a tiny superhero cape with the letter D on it. For Danny, Elena explained. So Mr. Buttons has a friend who's as brave as your daddy. At the airport, Elena walked them to their gate. The first-class lounge was a world Danny had never experienced. Comfortable seating, free food and drinks, quiet spaces away from the chaos of the main terminal. Miguel was fascinated by everything, and Elena patiently answered all his questions about airplanes and airports. As they prepared to board, Elena handed Danny an envelope. Don't open this until you're on the plane, she said. Elena, you've already done too much. Just promise me you'll open it when you're settled. Danny nodded, though he was uncomfortable accepting anything more from her. She had already spent what must have been thousands of dollars on their hotel, flights, and care. On the plane, Miguel fell asleep against Danny's good shoulder almost immediately. The first-class seats were like small rooms with enough space to stretch out and privacy screens. Danny had never experienced such luxury. He carefully opened the envelope Elena had given him with his good hand. Inside was a check for $75,000 and a handwritten note on her personal letterhead. Danny, this isn't charity and it isn't payment for what you did. This is gratitude from someone who understands what it means to struggle. You gave me my life back yesterday and I want to give you a chance to rebuild yours and Miguel's. Use this to pay off medical bills, get back on your feet, start fresh, whatever you need. You and Miguel deserve stability and security. My personal number is below. Please call me when you're ready to talk. Elena. P.S. There's a job waiting for you at Vasquez Industries if you want it. Head of Personal Security. You've already proven you're the right man for it. The salary is $120,000 per year, plus full benefits, housing allowance, and college fund for Miguel. No pressure, just know the offer stands. Danny stared at the check until his eyes blurred with tears. $75,000 would pay off all of Maria's medical debt with money left over. It would give them breathing room to grieve properly instead of constantly worrying about money. It was more money than Danny had ever seen in one place. But more than that, it was hope. For the first time since Maria died, Danny could see a future that wasn't just about survival. Miguel could have the childhood he deserved, the opportunities Danny had never been able to provide. 3 weeks later, Danny and Miguel returned from Carmen's funeral. It had been a difficult goodbye but also healing. Miguel had been able to spend quality time with his last living grandmother, hearing stories about his mother's childhood, learning about his family history. Carmen had passed peacefully, with Miguel holding her hand and telling her about his brave daddy who saved people. Danny called Elena as soon as they got home to their small apartment. "Danny, how are you feeling? How's your shoulder?" "Much better, thanks to the physical therapy you arranged." "Elena, about your job offer. You don't have to decide right now. Take all the time you need." "I don't need time. I want to accept the position. If the offer is still open." "Of course it is. When can you start?" "Whenever you need me." "Miguel starts school next month, so anytime after that." "How about we start with next Monday? That gives you time to get familiar with everything before Miguel's schedule gets busy." Danny's first day at Vasquez Industries was overwhelming in the best possible way. The building was 40 stories of glass and steel, the kind of place he'd only seen from the outside. But Elena made him feel welcome from the moment he arrived. "Your office is on the 35th floor, she said, showing him around the executive level. "You'll oversee all security operations, building access, executive protection, event security, cybersecurity coordination. But I want you to know this isn't just about physical protection. I trust your judgment, and I want your input on all security-related decisions." "Elena, I need you to know I've never done anything like this before. I worked construction, some warehouse jobs, a little private security." "You have the most important qualifications," Elena interrupted. "Integrity, courage, and the ability to make split-second decisions under pressure. Everything else can be learned." Danny's assistant, Mrs. Patterson, was a kind woman in her 50s who had worked for the company for 20 years. She helped him understand his responsibilities, introduced him to his team, and patiently explained the corporate culture. Within weeks, he was reviewing security protocols, coordinating with local law enforcement, and managing a team of 15 security professionals. But the best part was being able to provide for Miguel in ways he'd never imagined. They moved into a 3-bedroom house in an excellent school district, not a company house, but one Danny could afford with his new salary. Miguel had his own room, a backyard to play in, and for the first time since Maria died, Danny could afford to buy him things just because he wanted them, not just because he needed them. "Daddy, why do you smile so much now?" Miguel asked one evening as they cooked dinner together in their new kitchen. "Because we're safe now, Mijo. And because I get to come home to you every day without worrying about money or bills or whether we'll have a place to live." "Do you still miss Mommy?" "Every day. But I think she'd be happy that we're happy. I think she'd like Elena too." Miguel nodded solemnly. "I think Mommy sent Elena to take care of us. Like a guardian angel, but a real person." 3 months into the job, Elena asked Danny to accompany her to a company board meeting. As her head of security, she wanted him to understand all aspects of the business that might affect security decisions. The profit margins in the third quarter exceeded expectations by 12%, one board member was saying, pointing to charts and graphs that showed steady growth. Danny listened as they discussed numbers that seemed impossibly large to him. Vasquez Industries wasn't just successful, it was thriving. They employed over 50,000 people worldwide, had contracts with major corporations, and maintained a reputation for ethical business practices. After the meeting, Elena walked with Danny back to his office. "What did you think? Honestly, it's amazing what you've built here. All those people who have good jobs, families who have security because of what you created." Elena smiled. "That's exactly why I do it. It's not about the money anymore. I have more than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. It's about creating opportunities for families like yours, like mine was when I was growing up." "Speaking of families like mine, there's something I wanted to ask you." "What's that?" Danny felt nervous suddenly. Over the months, he'd grown to care about Elena as more than just his boss or the woman who had transformed their lives. She often joined them for dinner, helped Miguel with homework, attended his school events when Danny couldn't leave work. She had become part of their routine, their family, in ways that felt natural and right. Miguel's school is having a mother-son dance next month. Since he doesn't have a mother? Danny's voice trailed off. You want me to go with him? Only if you want to. I know you're incredibly busy and it might seem silly. I would be honored, Elena said, tears forming in her eyes. Thank you for asking me. The night of the dance, Elena arrived at their house wearing a simple blue dress that somehow made her look more beautiful than any expensive gown could. She had brought Miguel a small corsage, not too fancy, but special enough to make him feel important. You look pretty, Elena, Miguel said, taking her hand with the seriousness of a proper gentleman. Thank you, handsome. You look very grown up in that suit. Danny watched them together and felt his heart swell. Elena had filled a void in Miguel's life that Danny hadn't even realized existed. She provided a maternal presence that was gentle but strong, nurturing but not overwhelming. At the dance, other parents clearly recognized Elena from business news and social media, but she paid attention only to Miguel. They danced, laughed, ate cake and took pictures like any other parent and child. She had a natural way with him, treating him not like a charity case or obligation, but like he was precious to her. She's really nice, another father commented to Danny. Your wife seems very down to earth for someone so successful. Danny started to correct him, then stopped. In every way that mattered, Elena had become part of their family. Miguel adored her and she clearly loved him back. The three of them had fallen into a comfortable rhythm that felt more natural than anything Danny had experienced since Maria died. Later that night, after Miguel had gone to bed clutching his dance photos, Elena and Danny sat on his back porch drinking coffee and watching the stars. Thank you for tonight, Danny said. Miguel had the time of his life. I haven't seen him that happy since before Maria got sick. So did I. I never knew how much I was missing not having a family. I've been so focused on building the company, on proving myself, that I convinced myself I didn't need those things. Danny looked at her in the soft porch light. Elena, can I ask you something personal? Anything. Why haven't you ever gotten married? Had kids of your own? You're beautiful, successful, kind. Elena was quiet for a long time, staring up at the stars. I was so focused on building the company, on proving myself in a man's world, that I convinced myself I didn't need those things. Every relationship I had was with men who were either intimidated by my success or only interested in my money. She turned to look at Danny. But watching you with Miguel being part of your lives these past few months, I realized I was wrong. I realized I've been successful in business, but I've failed at living. What do you mean? I mean, I've spent so many years building a company, accumulating wealth, gaining recognition, but I've never built anything that really mattered. Until I met you. Danny felt his heart racing. Elena. I know this is complicated. I know I'm your boss and there's Miguel to think about, and 100 reasons why this might be difficult. But I have to tell you the truth. What truth? I'm falling in love with you. Both of you. You've shown me what real family looks like, what it means to love someone so much you'd risk everything for them. I want to be part of that. Danny set down his coffee cup and turned to face her fully. I love you too. I've been afraid to say it because I didn't want you to think it was about gratitude or the job or the money you've given us. Elena silenced him with a gentle kiss. It was soft and sweet and filled with months of unspoken feelings. It's not about any of that, she whispered against his lips. It's about love. Real, deep, life-changing love. What about Miguel? He has to be the priority. He always has to come first. Miguel should be the priority. He'll always be the priority. I don't want to be his stepmother, I want to be his mom. If he'll have me. As if on cue, Miguel appeared in the doorway in his superhero pajamas, rubbing his eyes and holding both Mr. Buttons and his new superhero bear. Daddy? Why are you and Elena kissing? Danny and Elena looked at each other and started laughing, the tension broken by the innocent question. Come here, Mijo, Danny said, patting his lap. Miguel climbed onto Danny's lap, snuggling between his father and Elena. Elena, are you going to be my mom now? Would you like that? Elena asked gently, stroking his hair. I would like that very much. I love you. And I think Mommy would like you too. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you know. 6 months later, Danny proposed to Elena at the very spot where they first met, Gate 15 at the airport. He had arranged for them to take a trip to Disney World, Miguel's first real vacation, and had coordinated with airport security to have access to the gate. Miguel helped by holding the ring box and giving a little speech he had practiced about how happy Elena made their family. "Elena, you saved our lives just as much as we saved yours," Danny said, getting down on one knee while Miguel bounced excitedly beside him. "You gave us hope when we had none, love when we needed it most, and a future we never dared to dream of. Will you marry us?" "Us?" Elena laughed through her tears, looking between Danny and Miguel. "It's a package deal," Miguel added seriously, just as Danny had coached him. "You get both of us forever and ever." "Then yes, I'll marry both of you. Nothing would make me happier." Their wedding was held 6 months later in the ballroom of the same hotel where Elena had first taken care of them. Instead of expensive floral arrangements, the tables were decorated with photos of all the families the company's charitable foundation had helped over the years, a foundation that had grown significantly under Danny and Elena's joint leadership. Miguel walked Elena down the aisle, wearing a tiny tuxedo and grinning from ear to ear. He carried both wedding rings and a sign that read, "Here comes my new mom." Danny wore his father's wedding suit, carefully tailored to fit, and Elena wore her grandmother's wedding dress, which she had never thought she would use. "I never imagined this day would come," Elena said as they danced their first dance as husband and wife, with Miguel dancing beside them. "Which part?" Danny asked, spinning her gently while Miguel giggled and tried to copy their steps. "The part where I have everything I ever wanted, a husband who loves me for who I am, not what I have, and a son who chose me to be his mother." "We didn't choose you," Danny said, lifting Miguel up so all three of them were dancing together. "We were chosen. All of us were chosen for this." 5 years later, Miguel graduated from elementary school as class president and valedictorian. In his graduation speech he talked about heroes, family, and the power of love to change lives. "My dad taught me that heroes are just regular people who choose to help others, even when it's scary," Miguel told the crowd of parents and students. "My mom taught me that success means nothing if you don't use it to make other people's lives better." Together, they taught me that families aren't just made by being born together, they're made by choosing to love each other every single day. He looked at Danny and Elena in the audience, sitting with their twin daughters Sophia and Carmen, adopted 2 years earlier from a family crisis situation. "They also taught me that sometimes the worst things that happen to you can lead to the best things in your life. If my first mom hadn't gotten sick, if my dad hadn't needed to take that security job, if he hadn't been brave enough to save my second mom, we never would have become a family. So sometimes sad things happen for happy reasons we don't understand yet." After the ceremony, a newspaper reporter approached them for a story about corporate executives who make a difference in their communities. "Mr. Rodriguez, looking back at that day in the airport 5 years ago, do you ever regret taking that bullet?" Danny looked at his wife and children, at the life they had built together, at the foundation they now ran together that had helped over 800 families. "That bullet gave me everything," Danny said, his arm around Elena as their daughters played at their feet and Miguel posed for pictures with his classmates. "Gave me a career with purpose, a wife who loves me, and the chance to give my children everything they deserve. Most importantly, it taught me that sometimes the scariest moments of your life can lead to the most beautiful outcomes." "Mrs. Rodriguez, what would you say to people who think this is just a story about luck?" Elena smiled, watching Miguel help his younger sisters with their celebration ribbons. "Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. But love is when courage meets kindness." Danny had the courage to act without thinking of himself, and everything beautiful that followed came from that single moment of choosing to put someone else's safety before his own. "And what's next for your family?" "More of the same," Elena said, taking Danny's hand. "More love, more helping families in need, more proving that good things really can come from the most unexpected places." Today, Danny serves as Chief Security Officer and Vice President of Community Relations for Vasquez Industries, while Elena continues as CEO with an even stronger focus on worker benefits and family support programs. Miguel, now 12, volunteers at the Children's Hospital every weekend and has already announced his intention to become either a doctor or a superhero, he hasn't decided which. The Rodriguez Vasquez Family Foundation has helped over 3,000 families pay medical bills, avoid eviction, find employment, and get back on their feet after crises. Every family they help receives a personal visit from Danny, who understands better than anyone what it means to face impossible circumstances with courage and dignity. Every year on the anniversary of the shooting, they visit Gate 15 at the airport. They bring flowers to honor all the security personnel and first responders who keep people safe, and they renew their commitment to helping families in need. The airport has installed a small memorial plaque at the spot where Danny was shot, honoring everyday heroes who risked their lives for strangers. Do you think we've made a difference? Danny asks Elena as they stand in the same spot where their lives intersected 5 years ago. Elena looks at the memorial wall they've created, photos of every family their foundation has helped, letters from children who stayed in school because their parents could afford to keep them housed, thank you cards from parents whose medical bills were paid, graduation announcements from kids who went to college on scholarships they provided. We've made more than a difference, Elena says, watching Miguel help his little sisters leave flowers at the memorial. We've created ripples of kindness that will continue long after we're gone. That evening, as they tuck Sofia and Carmen into their beds, 4-year-old Sofia asks her favorite question. Tell me the story again, Papa. About the day you met Mama at the flying place. Danny sits on the edge of her bed, with Elena, Miguel and little Carmen gathered around. I wasn't trying to be a hero, Princesa. I just saw someone who needed help. But it made our family, right? Carmen chimes in, though she's heard this story 100 times. It made everything possible, Danny says, kissing both girls' foreheads. Sometimes one moment of choosing to help someone else can change your whole world. Will we be brave like you someday? Sofia asks. You already are, Elena says, adjusting their blankets. You have your big brother's heart and your papa's courage. You can do anything you set your minds to. As they turn off the lights and close the bedroom door, Danny reflects on the incredible journey that brought them here. From medical bills and empty bank accounts to a house full of love and laughter. From working construction and struggling to make rent to running security for a Fortune 500 company and leading a foundation that changes lives. From a widowed single father facing an uncertain future to a man surrounded by more family and love than he ever dared to imagine. He thinks about Robert Chin, the man who shot him, now serving 12 years in prison for attempted murder. Danny visits him twice a year, bringing books and offering hope that redemption and forgiveness are possible for everyone. Robert has expressed genuine remorse and works in the prison's educational programs, helping other inmates prepare for their release. He thinks about all the families still struggling out there, still choosing between medicine and rent, still one emergency away from disaster. Their foundation's work continues to grow, but there's always more to do, more people to help, more hope to provide. Most of all, he thinks about that split-second decision in the airport when he chose to run toward danger instead of away from it. In that moment, he wasn't thinking about consequences or rewards or changing his life. He was just thinking about protecting someone who needed protection. That choice had given him everything he never dared to dream of: love, security, purpose, family, and the chance to help others facing the same struggles he once faced. Sometimes taking a bullet for a stranger gives you a whole new life. Sometimes the worst day becomes the first day of your best life. Sometimes love really does conquer all, and sometimes the most ordinary people are capable of the most extraordinary things. As Danny turns off the hall light and joins Elena in their bedroom, he whispers a quiet prayer of gratitude for that Tuesday morning at the airport when everything changed. For the courage to act, for the love that followed, and for the reminder that heroes aren't born, they're made in the moments when ordinary people choose to do extraordinary things.